talk show where we talk magic. If you have questions about magic, we got answers, because we do Q&A for the first half of the show, and then we do deck list review for the second half. So if you need clarity with your deck list, if you've got a sweet brew that needs to be taken to another level to make to make it competitive in today's magic landscape, don't forget to bring it here, because that is what we do. So we already got some people already on our way. Reality says hi, good morning. Good morning, Reality. And yeah, so let's have a lot of fun wherever you are in this world, whether it's the morning, afternoon, or evening. Brew up a cup of magic. You know I love my coffee. And this is turning into a real morning talk show, because we are now doing this one. Let me take a delicious sip of my coffee. Absolutely delicious. I would like to remind everyone that we do this morning talk show now from Mondays to Fridays, 9 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. So maybe you can catch it now before you go to work, before you go to school. I don't know if this is going to be this. However, the new time now accommodates my my schedule at university. And don't forget, we do this at twitch.tv/Nikachu MTG. You want to be part of the show? You want to get your questions answered? Want to become part of the discussion? Don't be afraid. Come on down, just like Angkorian Hero. Good morning. Good morning, Tai Padme. So yeah, let's have a lot of fun. And there are more spoilers, of course. Of course, there's going to be more Zenderkar spoilers. Let's go check them out. It's all sorts of spoilers I have not even seen yet. Morning crew, best crew. Good morning, Siege Sensei. So let's just break it out. Like what's going on here? We got Royal Eruption, Kicker 5, 3 damage to any target. Any target, so you actually can hit planeswalkers, but it's sorcery speed. If it was kicked, deals 5 damage instead. Kicker is a bit expensive though, even for like modern play. Hitting 5 mana is like a thing. Hitting 7 mana really isn't. I have no idea what this card is. Inscription of Ruin. Black, 2 generic sorcery. Kicker, yeah, you're going back to 7 again. Choose one. If this spell was kicked, choose any number instead. Target opponent discards 2 cards, which return your creature card with convert mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and destroy target creature. Convert mana cost 3 or less. Not a bad card. Not a bad card at all. Tai Padme subscribed for 2 months in a row. Thank you very much, Tai Padme, for riding the wave for 2 months. I really appreciate it. Lord Magicus, good morning. Good morning, Mature. From Minnesota, really close to me. I'm from Winnipeg. Are you getting the cold weather that we are? It's getting cold here. It's like the, I don't know, the calm before the storm. What's my thoughts on Merfolk Windrobber? Very mixed. Very, very mixed. And I've got this question many times. I'm just going to answer it one more time today. So flying, great. That's awesome. But the problem is, fills our opponent's graveyard. Not really where you want to be in Modern. It's not what you want to do against decks that play Kroxa or Renin 6 or Uro or Snapcaster Mage or Dredge cards. So that can be an enormous liability. Or Lurrus. So that part is terrible. Not to mention the upside to drawing a card, not even that relevant, because you don't even want cards in the late game when your opponent has a lot of cards in their graveyard. For the most part, I'm looking for power on the battlefield or ways to interact with the battlefield. This does neither of those things. So, at least Merfolk Mistcaller, just Mistcaller, can prevent big creatures from entering the battlefield with Collected Company, Court of Calling, and all those, graveyard shenanigans like Inscription. They want to return a creature from the graveyard to the battlefield. Nope, Mistcaller will get rid of it. So those are my thoughts on Merfolk Windrobber. So I mean, it's worth play testing, but very likely it's actually not going to make the cut, because the disadvantage is first off, the advantage isn't that great, and the disadvantages could be catastrophic, especially when you're up against Dredge. You might have to side that card out against Dredge. Hello from my bus ride to work. All right, that's right. You guys squeeze in the Coffee and MTG wherever you can in your life. That's wherever you can. Good morning, Shadow Walker. I feel like to be playable out of standard, it needed to be 2/6. You mean Wind Robber? Oh, it's okay. People want to ask over and over again. It's all good. Niels Nielsen, good morning. Good morning, Ty Padme. Activist says, in the spirit of Zendikar and being that you are a tribal master, more of a merfolk master than tribal master, how would you go about building a modern allies deck? They have a great form of viable disruption in the form of Cabra Evangel, but every time I try it, just feels a little too clunky. Well, then you have to play all the cheap allies. Hold on, which one are you talking about? Kabira. We had an allies deck on this. So first off, you have to be less clunky. Whenever Kabira, Evangel, or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, you may choose a color. If you do allies you control, will gain protection from the chosen color until end of turn. I think you can play 4 of this, but outside of that, I wouldn't want to play more allies that cost more than 3. It's basically how I would do it. There are some good allies. There's like a Champion of the Parish ally. It's like a 0/1, enters the battlefield. Whenever itself or another ally enters the battlefield, it gets +1/+1. So that's like pretty good. I guess I would just play all the Champion of the Parish allies all together. But maybe they need a few more allies to reach the right density. But probably I would build it with Collected Company in mind. And Ether Vial, of course. Can't really give too much feedback because I've never actually dived in and built an allies deck. So hope that was helpful, though. Good morning, hot chocolate from Australia. Maybe drinking that hot chocolate right now. Good morning, Satamane. The ability to enable myself makes me worse. Yes, something like that. So we got, okay, what else do we got here? Shatter Skull Smashing. Oh, this actually might be a really good card. So it could be a land that you pay 3 mana to get untapped. So you pay 3 life to have untapped, but it's like Conflagrate, right? Shatter Skull Smashing deals X damage divided as you choose among up to, it's only 2 target creatures and or planeswalkers. If X is 6 or more, Shatter Skull Smashing deals twice X damage divided as you choose among them instead. Interesting. Well, I guess it's not like Conflagrate because they rarely spend mana on their Conflagrate. Allies has a problem many tribal decks do. How do you survive and defeat a Wrath? It's not fast enough to get under, so you have to lean on cards like the one that brings back 8 CMC of allies, but you also want to be a Vial deck, so you're running out of space in your 5-color deck that wants to run spells too. So, I mean, the answer to that is, first off, Vial decks do okay against Wrath decks because you can just Vial in more creatures afterwards. You can rebuild your board at flash speed. And the next thing is you can borrow some flash creatures that are not in your creature type. You can, like, I've played Vendilion Click in my Merfolk deck. You can play Nimble Obstructionist in your allies deck and just flash in a creature at end of turn and keep the beat down going after they've played their Wrath. So, I mean, there are, especially in Vial creature decks, there are some really cunning ways of continuing the attack after you've been Wrathed. So what is this a similar? No, this is the same card, just flipped over. What are you? 7 mana. Hexproof and haste. I don't care. 4 mana. Rare. Hagrabite. Instant. If any opponent controls no basic land, this spell costs 1 less to cast. They're hammering they're hammering non-basic lands in this set. Destroy target creature. Hagrapit. This is not that impressive, though. Okay, what does the black one do? Is the blue one spoiled yet? Oh, this is Hagrabite. So this is the land. We need a blue one. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature. Kazul's Fury deals damage equal to the sacrificed creature's power to any target. That sucks. This is not a good card. Kabira Takedown deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control the target creature or planeswalker. That might be good, but I can't be sure. Probably not. Like how often do we play with these cards where equal to the number of creatures that we have on the battlefield, it's going to like kill something. So this is also probably useless. That's pretty disappointing because you know these come into play tapped lands with a spell attached to it. I mean, I guess they might want to be more safe with them because then they would just be stock cards in almost every deck. But still, it would have been nice to see some like modern playable stuff. So are we halfway through the spoilers for Zenderkar and not much so far for Merfolk? Do you think we will get one that we can welcome to the family? I'm not counting on it. I never count on it. I know there's Merfolk in the set, but I had high hopes for Ixalan because that was supposed to be a Merfolk set. And I guess we got some stuff, but it was like a real marginal upgrade from like Simic to Mono Blue. Like honestly, you can still play, even in today's metagame, you can play Simic like I'm doing right now, or you could play Mono Blue, and honestly, it's also good. And of course, there's like Blue White. So the going Simic is like either a very marginal upgrade to Mono Blue, or it's on the same level. It wasn't really that big of a deal, and I expected some big stuff here. So I outside of a set that's dedicated, it's not supposed to be dedicated to Merfolk. I'm not hoping for anything, or I'm not going to be disappointed if nothing shows up. What do you think of the new Infernal Reckoning? Not a new card. Infernal Wreck. This is a very old looking card. Infernal Reckoning, exile target colorless creature, you gain life equal to its power. This card is actually good. This card is very good. Exile target colorless creature, you gain life equal to its power. So it's like 1 black, basically force a ballista off the battlefield, and then deal with like everything else. But you know the crappy thing is, doesn't Thought Not Seer have to die? Or is it when Thought Not Seer leaves the battlefield? No, okay, it's when it leaves the battlefield. Okay, this card's great. This card is very, very good. Maybe it just needs the right shell to be played in, but this card's very, very good. Too bad it wasn't exile target colorless like permanent. Then it'd be even better. I guess that's a bit narrow, but still very good card. Very good card, in my opinion. Moving on with the spoilers. Is that it? Okay, September 3rd. What do we miss? Bubble Snare. Aura. Enters the battlefield. If it was kicked, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. So, sort of a crappy removal spell. Fearless Fledging. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Fearless Fledging against flying until end of turn. That is strong. That's a good card. I guess it's like Sprite Dragon, right? But for landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. I mean, this easily is attacking for 3 damage next turn. How is no one talking about this? And the art is pretty funky too. I mean, it's memorable art. I'm not going to take it away. They got even more. They have a more. I don't know. They have a more. How do I put it? An art with pride and an art with not pride. It's like this art has no shame. This one has a little bit of shame. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Fearless Fledging against flying until end of turn. I think this card is great. I can't be certain that this. I think this is sort of like Kiln Fiend, where the card is good but needs the right shell for it, needs the right build. But this, I mean, you can smack someone for 3 damage on turn 3, and then for 5 on turn 4. That's a lot of damage. I think this actually is a very good card. This could see modern play. You need it in the right deck. It would probably be in some sort of zoo deck. But like, yeah, But yeah, it seems good in a format with fetch land. So this card will not see play in like Pioneer or Historic. But if we're talking, I would talk specifically Modern. It's probably too. I don't know. Maybe it's not too small or too weak for Legacy. Who knows? But this is actually a pretty damn good card. I think this is really cool. This is really strong. Let's see if I can answer some questions. I saw some questions earlier. By the way, if you want your questions answered, don't forget to give 3 question marks before the question, 3 question marks after the question, or you can at Nikachu MTG. Helps me find your question among all the questions that are in the chat. What really bothers me is that they didn't make Umara Mystic a Simic. Who needs Is It Mystic? Well, like, but that's why it was like sort of pseudo spell based. Umara was actually a lot of Umaras. This is like a sequel to Umara Raptor. I saw a great meme actually, I think on the Merfolk Facebook fan page about this being like the Green Goblin. And this is the Glider. Looks like the Green Goblin. Probably a lot of inspiration there. But whenever you cast in, well, you know, any of these cast in instant or sorcery spells is always red. This is always just a red thing. If it was green, maybe it gets bigger whenever you cast any creature spells. But anyway, I'm not particularly thrilled with that card. Not particularly interested. Although the land back card aren't the best, they are almost auto includes for commander replacing land slots, depending on your group. I mean, what if people are playing with like Magus of the Moon and Blood Moon and Back to Basics? Yeah, what about those cards? Because those still get affected because they're not actual mountains or anything like that. I mean, they're not basic plains. I mean, they're not basic lands. Merfolk Splash Black. Yes, for that strange exile colorless creature permanent card. Let's see. Good morning, Basic Land Shark. Hope you have a positive and productive day today. I am hoping so as well. I'm gonna have a lot of fun. Yeah, it gets real. This fearless fledging thing. The thing can get ridiculously big, and if you can keep the fetch lands coming, if you can keep like digging them out of the graveyard, even maybe with what's it called, Ramanap Excavator, keep those fetch lands coming. I mean, this thing can become 5/5, 7/7. This can be insanely large. And like, it doesn't need haste or anything like that. And landfall is a lot easier to pull off than I think than spells, in my opinion. Probably could go with Wild Nikachu, although I think Wild Nikachu is still a pretty crap card. I think the problem with Wild Nikachu, well, actually, Wild Nikachu probably would go in this deck, but like the problem with Wild Nikachu is there's so many better one drops. I mean, like Soul Scar Mage. If you really look at it, like the Prowess deck these days, it's basically Zoo. You know, it's just mono red Zoo, and that Soul Scar Mage is just worth so much more than the Wild Nikachu because it can just deal so much more damage. And you deal a lot less damage to yourself because you have like a painless mana base and you're not weak to Blood Moon. Yeah, you could even Field of Ruin and trigger this thing as well. Isn't that a functional reprint of something? Not that I know of. Do you ever have days where you're just feeling too exhausted to do anything MTG related? How do you continue to do content through that? I just do it. I just do it. And well, okay, to be honest, I've only had some of those days when Twitch streaming, just because I'm on a schedule. When I was on YouTube, I would just like, you know what? If I don't want to do this, fuck it. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait another day, or I'm canceling. I just tell my brother we're canceling today. We're doing it some other day. I didn't get enough sleep last night. Nowadays, I just go through it, and you know what? You got to look at on the positive side. People still want to watch you play, and also the result. I mean, people like nice, good results, but the most important thing, at least from my perspective, is as a content creator, is to be teaching people. So I would just try to focus on teaching people more on like whether I'm winning or losing, and hopefully you can get through it like that. You can also shift the focus from, I mean, you're playing Magic. We don't always have to be talking about Magic. You could talk about something else, but that helps me only when I'm doing stuff live. If it's YouTube, do it another day. That's the magic of YouTube. You don't have to play on any particular day. You can play on another day, and record on another day and then upload the videos whenever you want. That's how I do it. But I you know what? I'm a machine. Did anyone ever hear me cancel streams because of mental health or something like that? And by the way, it's not saying that's anything. I have nothing against people doing that. But I'm just the person. I'm just saying I'm the type of person. I'm just going to go full forward ahead with it anyway. Screw it, and no fear. Or I don't know about no fear, but I'm just going to chug. I just chug along. So, but that's me. And if anyone needs a break, you take it. But I'm just the personality that goes forward anyway. I'm as I think of it, I am a grinder. I'm a grinder of social media. Or of streaming and content creation. I wouldn't say I'm a grinder of social media because my Twitter game is not so good. My Twitter game, my Instagram game, I could do better there. Nisa, Steward of Elements, playable at all in Fish? No. I've heard this question a million times. I haven't heard this question in a while, but I've definitely said no a million times. Want to try one for fun in Simic? Sounds good late game and also sounds quite fun. Player together with Thassa's Oracle and Thassa. And that's the problem. Like, it's only good in the late game, and we need to focus these days. We have a lot of late game cards. We have Thassa, God of the Sea. We could play any Planeswalkers. There's a million cards we can play in the late game, but we need things in the early game because that's where it matters. Hold on, I'm just trying to get the. So when this card was spoiled, a lot of people were super high on this card. Can I actually get closer? Too close. Back off, Nisa, or Nissa. I like saying Nisa. I heard the correct pronunciation is Nissa, and I don't want to pronounce it the incorrect pronunciation, but still, I'm a huge Nisa. I'm a Nisa fan. So +2, scry 2. You didn't impact the board at all. You did nothing, and then Nissa's gonna die. And then you can pay 0. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a land or a creature card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of loyalty counters on Nissa, you may put that card onto the battlefield. So maybe you will ramp. Maybe for 3 mana, you play this, you will get a card. You'll get a land card onto the battlefield. Not worth it. You should really be. I mean, we could play Uro for that. Uro does more for 3 mana. Gain 3 life. Potentially have a 6/6 body in the future. Draw a card. Put extra lands on the battlefield. So the point is, in today's metagame, we need cards specifically focusing on the early game. That's why I said I want beef for a 1-drop. I want a powerful, strong 1-drop that can deal a lot of power to our opponents, like really, really well. And Nissa does not do anything like that. And also does not influence the battlefield whatsoever, unless we're lucky to find a 1-drop when we play in Nissa on 1. Great question, though. Great question. Very common question. But I hope people can look, at least for, this is in terms of a Merfolk deck. If you're a control deck, maybe there's more use to this. Although, again, there would be less permanence in that deck for you to really take advantage of Nissa. Hey, where'd I go? Where'd my stream go? Am I still here? I'm scared. I saw something refresh. I don't know if anyone saw what I saw. Whatever, it's all good. We survived. But the point is, especially in Modern right now, you really have to be building your deck with the early game in mind, because and every card has to sort of like every single card has to be focused on the early game, because there's a lot of late game options, but there's not so many good early game options. You can get really run over really fast. So Tuxdev says your 1-drops need to scale very well, and we were actually actually here's a great example: Mono Red Prowess. And Tuxdev says Nikachu doesn't scale anymore. So Nikachu has a really good boost in the early portion of the game, by turn 2, it can be a 3/3, but later on in the game, it's still a 3/3. Now, when you compare that to the red creatures, like Soul Scar Mage, for example. Let's look at Soul Scar Mage. This is a creature that is pretty good early game, can easily become a 3-power creature, but could be a 7-power creature later in the game. So actually good in early game and good in the late game. And that's what I'm looking for. I want a 1-drop that, you know, is going to be good in both parts of the game, from in the early game and the late game. So Soul Scar Mage and Swift Spear, of course, both in the same boat, both in the same category of being very strong early game creatures. This one has haste, so it's really good in the early game, while also being really powerful in the late game. So spending 3 mana on a Planeswalker that literally has no influence on the battlefield, not that great. That's why Oko was great, because Oko put things on the battlefield. So even if Oko died, you still got value. Whereas with Nissa, if we scry and then our opponent kills Nissa, which will be easy because it only has 1 loyalty by the time we play it on turn 3, it's not worth it. Or like we barely did anything, and our opponent like played another creature and got even more further ahead than us. Yeah. Anyway, just trying to grind a lesson out of why Nissa basically doesn't see any play. Not just in the Merfolk deck, but in like any deck, sees no play whatsoever. More of a commander card, I guess. Okay, did I miss any? I might have missed some questions. Sorry about that. How would you go about splashing black in Merfolk? What cards would you splash for? I'm still a fan. I'm still a fan of the Mire Triton. I'm still a fan of Mire Triton. I like this card. Although I don't know if I can really support it right this very moment in the metagame because of Lava Dart and Walking Ballista. But still a pretty strong card. Being able to flash in a Death Touch creature that's 2 power and you can gain some life is actually really convenient. The biggest problem with Dimir Merfolk is the mana base. And if we can get a Dimir Horizon land in Modern Horizons, that could be a game changer, like a real game changer. Just like how Waterlog Grove, I do believe, was a game changer for Simic Merfolk in Modern. That was a really big deal. It gave us card advantage. It gave us a good chunk of card advantage in a deck where we needed a little bit more card advantage because we just playing with a bunch of like loose lords that just get 1-for-1 all over the place. So the mana base is a problem at the moment. We don't have good lands for Dimir Merfolk. I mean, I would likely play Fatal Push. I mean, you would probably have to play some number of like good like removal spells. I might just actually still play Dismember and just have a discount whenever I have black mana up. But I think the biggest problem for Dimir Merfolk at the moment is the mana base is painful and clunky. And yeah, that's about it. And I really like Mire Triton. I really do like Mire Triton. It's a really cool card. I played with it before in my 5-color Merfolk deck. No, it was Sultai. I made a Sultai deck. Let's thought on Seagate Stormcaller. I don't even know what that is. This is a neat looking card. So this is new. Is this new? Is this Zenderkar? No, it is Zenderkar Rising. I wasn't familiar with the set symbol. Looks like a commander set symbol. All right, so 2 mana for 2/1 creature. So far, I'm impressed. Do we have upside? When Seagate Stormcaller enters the battlefield, copy the next instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 2 or less you cast this turn. When you cast it, what? Copy the next instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 2 or less this turn when you cast it. If Seagate Stormcaller was kicked, copy that spell twice instead. You choose new targets for the copies. Neat card. Neat card. I think this is cool. Neat, very neat card. I don't know how, okay, I don't know how like competitive it's going to be because unlike Snapcaster Mage, you can just freely tap out whenever you want to. And yeah, you can just tap out whenever you want to, and then when you want to play the spell, you get to flash it back. Whereas with this, you have to play this thing first, and the next spell that you have is going to give it the flashback. So obviously it's not better than Snap, or I wouldn't say it's different than Snapcaster Mage. Now, some advantages with this card: you can vial this thing in and get the ETB. You don't actually have to cast it. So it's when Stormcaller enters the battlefield, copy the next instant or sorcery spell with convertment cost 2 or less. So this card has potential. This card has potential. It's cheap. Kicker's enormous, but you know, whatever. You don't have to. I think for 2 mana, 2/1 creature with this upside is definitely good. I think it's definitely good. Kicker is just, what are people saying about the kicker? Kicker is just like game value. Yeah, when you have like, was it 5/7? So I guess if you have 8 mana on the battlefield, you can place the Seagate Stormcaller, bolt your opponent, what, for 9? That's pretty impressive. That's not bad. So like what can this do? So you play this and your lightning bolts are now firing for 6 damage now. Right? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's not bad. The fact that you get two things out of it actually 2 spells actually is pretty good. Oh, you want to play Ancestral Vision? In Electro Dominance deck? Well, that might be getting too fancy. I could totally see some card like this, and I don't know exactly if in a Delver deck, but it's like a spell-based deck. Card is good. I think the card is good. I give my thumb up to this card. Definitely going to be needing the right shell for it. Like I said Ether Vial, but it doesn't necessarily need Ether Vial, and probably it would not be in an Ether Vial deck because Ether Vial decks would imply that you are playing with creatures, and you actually need a strong density of wizards. Sorry, you need a strong density of instants and sorceries in order to get this thing good. And then I guess you could go Naban into this thing. If a wizard entering the battlefield under your control causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control, trigger that ability, you basically get 2 triggers. So you get two copies of the Seagate Stormcaller, which in that case, you can then bolt someone for 12. Naban is not bad. Naban is good, Tuxdev. It's just not better than like Phantasmal Image for Merfolk. My thoughts on the new flying Zenderkar Merfolk is that it sucks because you need to put in like just like this. This creature can't really be put in a creature-based deck because it is you can't put this in a creature-based deck because it needs the instants and sorceries, or it needs the right balance at the very least to get like an advantage out of it. Same thing with that. Where is this? Yeah, the Umara Mystic. To get value out of this, I mean, the deck could be full of wizards, I guess, but then it's not full of Merfolk. And you need to play things in order for it to get bigger. But I think you still, again, need a right balance of instants and sorceries to make this thing larger. And it's just not a good plan for 3 mana. For 3 mana, I think that's a bit too much. Bit too much for 3 mana. Okay, so I think now is a good time to segue into the second half of this show, which is Decklist review. So if you have a deck that you want reviewed, don't forget to go ! Deck review. Give the URL to your deck. Give any comments about it. Is it budget? What's the format? What do you need help against? What are you losing to? Helps me figure out what feedback you need, and also helps the community give feedback and give card suggestions. Oh, okay. And while everyone is submitting your deck list, we got to go over this. I have a bit of a rant about this. Black enchantment removal, the new card, Color Pie Shift. I don't think it's a Color Pie Shift, but I think this is a stupid idea. I'm not actually happy about this. So where's this new... Where is this new card? Was it revealed yesterday? It was revealed yesterday. What's the new enchantment removal card? I'm having trouble finding it at the moment. Black has literal enchantment removal. This is nonsense. Good morning, Kyoka620. Welcome. Is it called Feed the Swarm? Yeah, here it is. This is a stupid card. I don't think Black should have access to this card for so cheap. When I heard from Mark Rosewater that Black was going to get enchantment removal, I thought it was going to be like a 4-mana super clunky card, or it was going to have some massive downside. Now, this is sorcery speed. It's at sorcery speed, but it's 2 mana. And not only can you destroy an enchantment, you can destroy a creature. Destroy target creature or an enchantment an opponent controls. You lose life equal to that permanent's converted mana cost. That is... I think this card is really good, and it's really versatile. Of course, if you're splashing colors, you'll almost never need this damn thing. But this card I think it's just way too good. I think this is very, very good. I think it does screw up it breaks the color pie. I agree. Black should not have access to something. I honestly, I don't mind Black having access to something like this, but there needs to be some massive downside to it. Like Blue, for example, has direct damage with Psionic Blast, but you deal 4 damage to yourself. Or sorry, 2 damage to yourself. 4 damage to them. It's 3 mana. You deal 2 damage to yourself. Super old card. Yeah, maybe I think it should be even higher. I think you should lose twice as much life to be able to deal with enchantments. I don't know. We're going to have to see how this card plays out, but I don't think the downside is very high. And the fact that, or this was only to hit enchantments, not creatures. The fact that you can destroy a creature just makes it really versatile. It's like a Vendetta. And Vendetta has seen play since... Like, look, Vendetta, destroy target non-black creature. It can't be regenerated. You lose life equal to that creature's toughness. That's 1 mana. You just tack on 1 more mana. You can kill enchantments too. And also you can kill the black creatures. There's nothing wrong with this. Anyway, I think this is... well, but it did see play in the past. We have better options now than Vendetta. I'll agree. It's terrible. But I think the fact that you take a card that kills enchantments, which breaks the color pie for so little, and then add on a very playable card, Vendetta. I think this is a bit nonsense. Yeah, but like it's not. You can't. I don't want to look at it like a removal spell. It's a removal spell for enchantments with like massive bonus, huge bonus. Okay, so apparently we have. There are new Merfolk spoilers. Here, hold on. We got something here. Thieving Skydiver. I'm a bit excited. 2-1 flyer. Okay, I'm getting excited. Has some kicker attached to it. X can't be 0. Well, why can't it be 0? So when Thieving Skydiver enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, gain control of target artifact. X can't be 0. If it was kicked, gain control of target artifact with converted mana cost X or less. If that artifact is an equipment, attach it to Thieving Skydiver. Now this is great. I like. But kicker can't be 0. If I can go 2 mana, steal your Walking Ballista, and force them to like sacrifice it, that would be great. If I can steal their 0 mana, like if I can, well, I can't steal Mishra's Bauble. I guess they just sacrifice it in response. Gain control of target artifact. Convert mana cost X or less. How do we use this? I like the ability a lot. That doesn't help with Ensnaring Bridge, because if we steal the Ensnaring Bridge is still on the battlefield. That's a problem. Oh, we can steal opposing Ether Vials. That is a super strong tempo play. That'll be a massive tempo swing. That's actually quite good. I know. Why not 0? Why can't you give us that? Steal Stone. Well, it's hard. It's going to be hard to steal Stoneforge Mystic equipment because it's going to be expensive. We can very easily win before that happens. We would need like 7 mana to steal the Batter Skull. It's not happening, people. I mean, in theory, it can happen, but I wouldn't rely. Let me put it this way. I beat Stoneblade all day just by racing them. That's all we have to do. It's nothing special, nothing fancy, just race and kill them. Steal Astrolabe and Legacy. Bro, you can I can't steal. I can only steal a Walking Ballista if I pay 3 mana. And it's not really, I'm not going to steal it. It's just going to kill my Thieving Skydiver likely. But it's X or less, so I can steal a Ballista at 3. So if the X is 3, I can steal it. Seems great. Ooh, could be great against Hardened Scale. Actually, this is just going to be really good against any artifact deck that tries to peek its head. Like paying 4 mana, steal your what's it called? Steal Overseer. That's a huge bomb. That would be really good. Yeah, it's X or less. But it can't be 0, so I can't automatically steal Hangerback Walkers and stuff like that. Actually, stealing Hangerback Walker will be awesome too. This card is very good. This card is very good. This card would have been awesome back when we hated to play against Affinity. Yes, so like stealing Signal Pest and stuff like that would have been a really big deal. Yes, so I think this we do have a toolbox card. This is definitely a toolbox card. Well, it would be better if it had. What do you want on this thing? It already flies. It's a 2/1 with 2/1 with flying. They're making Merfolk fly, which is not bad. Giving natural evasion is good. Yeah, nowadays Classic Affinity is basically done. I played against it not too long ago. I just completely smashed it with all the things that we have today: Merfolk Trickster, Harbinger of the Tides, Force and Negation for the cranial plating. They don't have Mox Opal. It wasn't even close. It's just one-sided destroy them. It won't fly when you steal the Colossus Hammer. Yeah, we can steal. Well, we can steal stuff from Dice Factory, but the problem is that there's still like we still can't beat a bridge. I mean, we still need an answer for Ensnaring Bridge. So I would like it a little bit more if somehow. Okay, well, I mean, I would like it a lot more if I can just steal 0. Why can't I take 0 mana artifacts? What's wrong with that? My opponent's cheating. I mean, maybe it's to prevent me from stealing stuff. Like, I mean, maybe it's to prevent me from stealing XX stuff, like a Hangerback Walker, because that would be really cheesy. Why is stealing bridge still relevant? Like, what am I gonna do? Steal bridge and sack it would be the best thing ever. It would imply I need to oh, because I have the power. Okay, actually, do you know what? Lord Magicus makes a great point. Stealing Ensnaring Bridge actually works because I can just build up the cards in my hand. Great point. Very, very good point. Stealing the bridge, draw the cards. Hold cards and steal. It's the buy and hold strategy. The kicker can't be 0, but the target is X or less. So you can. So hold on. So we actually can steal stuff. X can't be 0. When it enters the battlefield, if it was gain control of target artifact with converted mana cost at X or less, if that artifact is an equipment. No, I don't think it can. I don't think we can. Yeah, I can kick it for 1, but I can't. I don't think I can kick it for 0. I still don't even think I can. You can pay an additional X as you cast the spell. They specifically say X can't be 0. So I can't steal a 0 mana artifact because I'm not allowed to choose 0. Yeah, then it would be 1 or less. Yeah, I can. Okay, so I can steal 0. Okay, I'll tell you as I understand this. I can steal 0 mana permanence if I kick it for 1, but I can't steal 0 mana permanence with a kicker of 0 because I'm not allowed to choose 0 as a kicker cost of 0. A little bit of debate here in the thing. So anyway, I'm pretty certain I know how to use this. I got excited for a second if I could steal 0. So this card's definitely going to see play. So we have something excited about. But still is not the 1 mana. This is not the 1 mana powerhouse that I was looking for. I wonder how relevant this is. And of course, you can't really put this in the main deck. You can only put this really in the sideboard. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Because this has to take up sideboard slots, and I don't even know if it's that good. Or maybe you can have it in the main deck. I don't know. Main deck seems pretty full right now. Well, I know. What I mean by you can't. I mean I can't steal at 0. The kicker cost of 0. I want to be able to play this for 2 mana and immediately steal your Hangerback Walker or deal with Walking Ballista immediately. Oh, I will say one thing. You could go turn 2 Lord on the play. They go turn 2 Walking Ballista. Turn 3 you play Thieving, Skydiver, steal Walking Ballista. They'll sacrifice it, of course, but they can't actually kill anything because the Lord is already on the battlefield. Yeah, really nice artwork. We have a nice artwork card. Anyway, that's really cool. I'm glad we so stealing vials will be very important in the mirror. Really, really good. And also in all vial matchups, just having a flying creature is always going to be relevant, so you can just fly over your opponent's stuff. Yeah, this is exactly. You can steal 0 mana artifacts, but the kicker cost cannot be 0. Has to be at least 1. Which makes it pretty quick, which makes it clunky. But whatever. It's better than nothing. The Tuxev nails this. It's nice for the tackle box, but still isn't the sauce. It's not like a core card that we're going to be including in every Merfolk deck. Why is this fish flying? That is a really good point. Why are all the Merfolk flying now? And also, it wasn't like back in Ixalan, you actually needed to enable the Merfolk to fly by having another Merfolk in play. Now that the Merfolk just naturally fly. Fish just fly these days, just like pigs fly. Whatever, that's great. Okay, so now let's get into deck list review. Great, it was a great session today. Oh, and before we get into deck list review, I better thank my sponsors, themanabase.com, the content creation site with articles to help your game in Commander, Pioneer, Modern, Standard, Historic, Legacy, and more. The Mana Base is your home base for everything Magic the Gathering. And the Mana Base is sponsored by Fusion Gaming Online. So you can go check out Fusion Gaming Online for all your Magic card deals. Deal of the week, Ultheros Beyond Death singles. So if you need an Ashiok Nightmare Muse, an Uro, a Croxa, go check out Fusion Gaming Online. Remember, it's Canadian prices, so don't be freaking out that everything is so ridiculously expensive. And we're also going to thank our sponsor, Mana Traders. Mana Traders is the premier place to rent Magic cards online. And you can support the channel by using my Mana Traders link in the description below. Or you can get 20% off your first 3 months by using my coupon code Nikachu. So we're going to thank Mana Traders for being our sponsor. Great way to also practice all these brews that we're about to check out. So we might not. I don't know how many we're going to. Oh, Ty Padme, thank you very much for gifting a sub to Lockhart. Let's see. Everything is flying in the set because strongholds from the core rose all over Zenderkar, and everyone's tries to boot them. That's also why there are tons of scavengers. Interesting. Ugly Hood Rat's deck has been chosen. Ugly Hood Rat has found some way to game this. We are like reviewing something from Ugly Hood Rat every single week. Something aggro. 2 shocks. Okay, Fire Prophecy. Deals 3 damage to any creature. You can put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. If you do draw a card, so a good way of filtering away garbage, or like your extra copies of Colossus, given that it's legendary. Zurta Goblin, Riot. So this can Domri's Ambush, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. Surprised only 2 of these in the deck. This is a very strong card. Grum Gully, the Generous. What's the format? Standard? Oh, when I saw this, oh sorry, you can't see what I see. My apologies. Just seeing the Fusion Gaming. My apologies. Okay, we're getting back here. Okay, 2 shock. Fire Prophecy. Deals 3 damage to any target creature, and you can cycle, basically take a land, put on the take a card from your hand, put on the bottom of your library, helps cycle away extra copies of legendary creatures or lands, so you keep the gas coming. So yeah, it's standard. And when I saw Errata, and I could have swore this was Huntmaster of the Fells, so I thought it was modern all of a sudden. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? No, it's Rata. Zurta Goblin. Well, we also have Scorching Dragonfire. Deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile it instead. Okay. I don't know what is in standard that you would need to exile creatures, but okay, sure. Domri's Ambush is very good. Colossus is amazing. Rhythm of the Wild. Creature spells you control can't be countered, and non-token creatures you control have Riot. I think this is a very strong card, very underrated card. This used to be a powerhouse in Standard way back. A very similar card called Fires of Yavimaya was built off of this card. So good question. Is there any green mana dorks in Standard right now for 1 mana? Is there any green mana dorks? No? That sucks. That definitely sucks for this deck. Okay. Storm's Wrath. Deals 4 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Leyline of Combustion. Torbrand. So hold on. Combustion. Whenever you, or at least when permanent you control becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, deals 2 damage to that player. I would not have this in the main. That would have to be like a super metagame call. Okay, so we have something. This is the Boar. 6/6 trample. Whenever it attacks, put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. This card's very, very strong. And escape into the wild. Sorcery. Exile the top 5 cards of your library. You may play cards exiled this way until the end of your next turn. You may play additional lands this turn. Okay, so first things first. You are really light on creatures for a deck that's trying to leverage Rhythm of the Wild. You need more creatures than this. This card is pointless if you're not playing with enough creatures. No, it's standard. Apparently, it's standard Gruul Rhythm. Well, I guess maybe you're setting up a combo deck. Ugly Hood Rat, you really like to I don't know how to put it. Really mix strategies here, because these are super controlling cards. You have so few, like, especially once you hit 4 mana, I think everything should be a creature. Torbrand is fine. Colossus is fine. Leyline of Combustion, I think, is too much now. Like, after you play Rhythm of the Wild, after that, everything should be like a creature bomb. Maybe Escape to the Wilds is a fine card because you can. It's like Collected Company, right? Exile the top 5 cards of your library. You can play cards exiled this way until end of turn. You can play an additional land this turn. Yeah, and also, well, there is devotion here with Leyline of Combustion, and well, especially Torbrand. But it seems to have a lot, like, you know, Domri's Ambush probably isn't even good in this deck because you just have so few creatures, and by the time you get to your top end, you're not even using Domri's Ambush. So I would take out Domri's Ambush, the Storm's Wrath, and the Leyline of Combustion, and I would add more creatures. I don't know if it should be these creatures. Maybe you have more Zur, Tag Goblins, and also even stuff at 1 mana. You could consider, like... and also, you don't need... like, I don't know what 1-drop creatures are available to really put the pressure on the opponent, but it would be nice to have, like, a 1-drop over Shock. I'm sure Shock sucks, and you could replace Shock with more Fire Prophecies and Scorching Dragonfires. Like, I have nothing against these cards. Or more Domri's Ambushes if you can increase the creature count in this deck. Yeah, Dorks are worthwhile, but only at 1 mana. Well, maybe even at 2 mana it wouldn't be too bad, but I'm not sure. Yeah, well, if you're capitalizing on Storm's Wrath, you should have more than 4. Storm Wrath deals 4 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Nice creature and all that. Well, whatever. It's how do I put it this way? You could take it a different direction. If you want to go super control, get rid of the Zertog Goblin, and I guess you still need the Rhythm of the Wild for the combo. Okay, honestly, this is how I would do it. Don't be control, be aggro. And then when your opponent is trying to deal with your aggro plan, you like go over the top of them with your combo. That's honestly how I would build this deck. Oh yeah, there's Gilded Goose. There's a mana dork. You gotta get in on that Gilded Goose on here. So play with 4 Gilded Goose so you can ramp into, and I would definitely just snap dump all this stuff. Like, I don't mind the Boar plan, I don't mind the Torbrand plan, I don't mind the Escape to the Wilds either. You can have all those cards. Be an aggro deck that puts pressure on the opponent, and then when they deal with that pressure, tapping out for something, you go Escape into the Wilds and smash them to hell. That's how I would deal. That's how I would approach this thing. Leyline of Combustion, I think, is, I don't know, it looks bad. These 2 cards, you only have 1 of them. Each other non-human creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter. As long as it's your turn, this creature has first strike. You may look at the top cards of your library anytime. You can play land cards from the top of your library. Like, these are like mediocre cards. But this would be my suggestion. Land mana base looks fine for the most part. Yeah, you have Stomping Ground. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Temple of Abandon. Well, this one's a bit clunky, Temple of Abandon. Now, I understand how the way you set up the deck that Temple of Abandon is actually not too bad, but I would actually try to shy away from this. And especially when we get into the new metagame, like the new cards, you can use the new like dual land, the Gruul dual land that you can flip on either side. This land is fine the way you built the deck, but I think it would be better that you just build the deck more aggro with a proactive plan. You just go way over the top of them if they control that plan, you like obliterate them afterwards. Is Shock necessary? I mean, I don't play Standard, honestly. I don't play Standard, so I have not a damn clue if this card is actually good. But maybe it is to compete with some aggro deck coming out earlier. You have the way I look at it, I think the Zertag Goblin should be in the main deck. You know, doing the beats on the opponent. Another Grumgully the Generous, but I'm just going to assume you have some plan with this card. Rampart Smasher can't be blocked by Knights or Walls. Sure, why not? Storm's Wrath. And by the way, you have the option, pending the archetype, you could side out some of that aggro plan and go more control. I have no problem with that. But I think game one should be more aggro and less control. So you can capitalize on the devotion for Clothis and also to capitalize on the synergy with Rhythm of the Wild. Because right now it's like too far. You could have the best of both worlds. You can be a good aggro deck and a combo deck at the same time. Whereas you've got like, I don't know how good this combo deck is. It's like an okay combo deck. And you have like a semi, you have like some mixed control plan because you have some weird aggro creatures here in the early game. So anyway, I would just go more aggro. Also, thank you very much to Crispy109 for subscribing. Thank you very much for supporting the channel, Crispy. Thanks for joining the wave. So you're welcome, Ugly Hood Rat. And congratulations for getting chosen for the millionth. How do you do it? Something's fishy here. I should just say, okay, today we're going to look at Ugly Hood Rat's deck. Which one is it going to be? Okay, so Law Cards deck list has been chosen. So my zombies list, very grindy, reasonably fast, looking to replace the Dread Wanderers, whose 2 power makes them attack. Whose 2 power makes them better attackers than Stitcher Suppliers and Crypt Breaker, and unlike Crypt Breaker, doesn't want me to be holding back when I want to be attacking every turn. Hold on, my zombies list very grindy, reasonably fast, looking to replace the Dread Wanderers, whose 2 power makes them better attackers than Stitcher Suppliers and Crypt Breakers. So you want to get rid of the, and unlike Crypt Breaker, doesn't want me to hold back. So you want to get rid of the Crypt Breaker and the Dread Wanderer. We can most definitely do that. And again, another zombies list. If you like zombies, come to Coffee and MTG. Tell all your zombie friends. So you don't like Dread Wanderer. What's wrong with Dread Wanderer? I mean, it's a little it is clunky, right? Is that what that was the complaint? Whose 2 power makes them better attackers than recently looking to replace Dread Wanderers, whose 2 power makes them better attackers than Stitcher Supplier and Crypt Breaker. I don't know if I fully understand what the feed, but you're looking. You want to replace Dread Wanderer. Only if you cast a sorcery, and only if you activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery, and only if you have 1 or fewer cards in hand. So you have to have an empty hand for this. But you don't play Crypt Breaker. Okay, hold on. Okay, so what's going on here? The number 1 and 2 candidates to replace Dread Wanderer are Stitcher Supplier and Crypt Breaker. All right. Okay, gotcha. So I wouldn't choose Stitcher Supplier because I don't think you have enough graveyard, and especially after you get rid of Dread Wanderer, like you don't have enough stuff from the graveyard to make use of Stitcher Supplier. Stitcher Supplier is a great card if you have like really good ways of reanimating stuff from the graveyard, and you got Gravecrawler, but like that's it seems. Whenever another zombie you control dies, an opponent loses life. Undead Arger. Yeah, so this is a no-brainer. You just go with Crypt Breaker. A lot of people like Crypt Breaker too. So Crypt Breaker is a one. You're more of a zombie deck that's playing on the battlefield, and by the way, that's totally fine if you want to go that direction. I don't believe that there's like a correct one way of doing anything. Of course, you're going to be less weak to the graveyard hate that's out there. So Crypt Breaker, yeah, you can discard a card, make zombies, and also draw cards with them. So if you want to replace Dread Wanderer with Crypt Breaker, go for it. What else can we do? You know, you're in blue. Well, if you don't want to play Prized Amalgam, you don't have to. Plague Belcher Menace. There's the battlefield. Put 2 -1/-1 counters on target creature you control. Whenever another zombie you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. Looks like just one giant beating stick. I don't know. Remove a counter from an artifact, creature, land, or planeswalker you control. Draw a card. Is this good? It looks like a little cute. It looks a little cute, in my opinion. It's definitely situational because you need to be up against a deck that actually has them. But, you know, 2 mana for a 2/3 creature, pretty damn good. And it's also a wizard. Oh, no, but it has to be a counter from an artifact, creature, land, or planeswalker you control. Draw a card. So it's not even from something of theirs. So you want to take away something from Carrion Feeder? So you want to put stuff on. Oh, you take things off of Geralf's Messenger. I think this is a bit too cute, though. I really think this is too cute. Ditch the Vials. What's wrong with Vial? I have nothing against Ether Vial. Now, you don't need to play with Ether Vial, but I have nothing against it. Village Rites, an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards. Again, I would not play a card like this unless you have enough graveyard synergy, and I really don't think you do. Like, you're hoping to draw your Geralf's Messenger when you cast that card, or your Gravecrawler. I don't know, maybe that's enough, but I don't really think so. I think you're better off playing like Thoughtseize or something like that. And it's additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature. I think that's too much tempo. Like, okay, for example, let's say you play Village Rites and you sacrifice Gravecrawler. So you paid a mana for the Gravecrawler, you paid a mana and sacrificed a creature to draw 2 cards. Then you paid another mana to get the Gravecrawler out. So you sunk 3 mana basically into the spell. And sure, you might have attacked with the Gravecrawler a few times, but it was divination. In the end, it was divination. You paid 3 mana for this to draw 2 cards. Like, that's how much mana you spent overall to get 2 cards. So I'm not a fan of this sort of card advantage, unless you got, like, you're discounting when I use Village Rites to counter your removal. That's awkward. I think that's just, I think it's awkward. I don't think there's like a really big bonus there. So if someone plays a removal spell in response, you play Village Rites. Because you're still sacrificing a permanent on the battlefield. So in the end, I don't know if you're up on, you like, why not? Okay, let me like put it this way. If you play Village Rites, you lose 2 cards and you draw 2 cards. If you just let your opponent kill your creature, and then let's say this was a creature and you put it onto the battlefield, you're down 1 card and you're up a card, but you actually have something on the battlefield. So I would just have this like as another like threat in essence. I think this is a bit too cute. I also think this is a bit too cute. I think you should just go up. I think you should go up on Murderous Rider. Or if they have a lifelink. I mean, yeah, there is cute stuff that can be done with Village Rites. How about this? I would prefer your deck had way more graveyard synergy for you to utilize this card. Like, you're throwing out one of your cards that has this graveyard synergy, sort of, because you need to have like no cards in hand. But because I could totally see a deck that does use Village Rites, but has way more graveyard synergy because there's not a big cost to the creatures that you're tossing away to draw more cards. And by the way, I think 2 is the right number. 2 is a good number if you want to run Village Rites. Fatal Push is fine. By the way, what's the mana base? You probably should have some fetch lands in here whenever you play with Fatal Push. It just makes it a little bit more convenient. Do they have graveyard synergy? This doesn't have graveyard synergy. It doesn't come back from the grave. When I mean graveyard synergy, I mean like coming back from the graveyard. Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Lockhart. You are correct. You have the. I read this as like Watery Grave, so you got it. You don't need any more help for. Okay, so this does not come back from the graveyard. This does not come back from the graveyard. This does come back from the graveyard, but we're going to replace it with the Crypt Breaker. This does come back from the graveyard, but so that you got that one. Gravecrawler does come back from the graveyard. This does not come back from the graveyard. This does not come back from the graveyard. This also does not come back from the graveyard. And this also does not come back from the graveyard. You have like dying trigger synergy, but you don't have any graveyard. You have very little graveyard synergy. Yeah, Messenger does have Undying. Yeah, but I'm just saying you should have more to really make use of cards like this, in my opinion. The Belcher has a trigger? No, well, this is not the trigger I'm talking about. You can have dying synergy, but you don't have. It's not graveyard synergy. Like what I'm talking about is the cost is relatively big with Village Rites because you don't really want to be sacrificing your creatures, even in response to removal spells. You rather just play another threat than draw 2 cards, even in response to a removal spell. So the deal is, if you do want to play some card like this, there needs to be a large enough density of creatures in the deck that will come back from the graveyard to relieve the cost of playing this card. And by the way, like sacrificing Geralf's Messenger is not bad. It's not bad. Even same thing with Gravecrawler. There's going to be some turns late in the game where, okay, you have a lot of mana, so you just like sack Gravecrawler, draw 2 cards, replay your Gravecrawler because you already have a zombie on the battlefield. Nothing wrong with that. Bloodghast, I have heard, is a bit too weak and doesn't have any of the zombie synergies because it's actually a vampire. I've heard from vampire players they don't even want to play Bloodghast. So if you want to play this card, 2 is the right number. I wish you had more graveyard synergy to actually use this card a little bit more effectively. So 3 counterspell, 3 ceremonious rejection. Is there any better way you can deal with colorless spells? This is fine though. Counter Squall, counter target non-creature spell its control loses 2 life. That's actually sort of cool. It's basically negate with upside. How much blue mana do you have? 10? You might want a little bit more blue mana. You have 10 sources of blue mana. Okay, hold on. Let's go see what's his name? Frank Karsten says. How many mana sources? So even but I sort of want to see how many mana sources you need to cast, say, Ceremonious Rejection by turn 3. And that would be here. So you need 11. Add one more blue mana source. Like take out a swamp, add a blue. Or take out a Cavern of Souls and add a blue. I think the number of basics might be fine. Actually, you probably need at least 1 island anyway to play around Blood Moon. Well, you need like 11. I think you need around. Okay, well, let me tell you this: if you don't have 11 blue mana sources, then all of these are 4 drops. This is a 4-drop. This is a 4-drop. This is a 4-drop. These are all 4-drops. They're not worth playing. So you put that basic island in, or you put another, I don't know, Dark Slick. You could put another Dark Slick Shores in. That's a good compromise. Ideally, like 2 more Dark Slick Shores in the deck. Take out 2 swamps, put in 2 more Dark Slick Shores. You're gonna have to see the replay, Panch Hernandez, but it's a good card. Not gonna be main deck worthy, but it's gonna be a good card. So as is with 10 islands in your deck, these are all 4-drops. And by the way, that's too late, and I think you know that. Maybe Counter Squall will be fine as a 4-drop, but I don't think Ceremonious Rejection will be. I think that's a bit too clunky. So you can add some Dark Slick Shores to the mix, take out some swamps. What does the probability thing say? By the way, I'm just going by Frank Karsten's table base here. So based on this table, yeah, exactly. If you need a single color of mana, you will get it. If you have 10, you'll get it by turn 4 if you have 10 of those colors in your deck. Anyway, I hope that was useful. So I highly suggest that you make those adjustments to your archetype, Lockhart. You at least, just like, if you need to just replace 1 swamp with a Dark Slick Shores, I think that is totally fine. 74% chance of a single blue is in the opener. Still low. Still low. Tell me, well, I don't have, we don't have any more time. I gotta go. But anyway, I would suggest you have 1 more Dark Slick Shores in the deck to make you, because the sideboard cards are fine. Ether Gust is great. Maybe you even want more Ether Gust in this metagame to deal with Prowess and the red-green Ponza deck, and a little bit of Burn. I think Ether Gust is fantastic, but according to Frank Carson's tables, and they are very reliable, and a lot of people use them to like 74% in your opening hand. Not great for cards you're siding in. When you side in sideboard cards, you want them to be reliably used. Like, what's the point of siding them in if you can't cast them, basically? And also, things like Ceremonious Rejection, you might want that by turn 1, to be honest. Like, you want to go turn 1 pass, and then Ceremonious Rejection, a turn 2 Thought Knot Seer, or a turn 1 Expedition Map. Having the card in your hand. Honestly, in your deck, go to 12 if you have sideboard cards and cards that you might want to play like early on. You might want to play early on in the game. At the very least, add 1 more. Add 1 more Dark Slick Shores to the deck, because you have room to play Dark Slick Shores, and it's a dual end, and it won't mess up with your black mana sources. I would play 2 more though. If you see decks in Modern, they don't play that many basics. Like, they play maybe 7. And I think actually your deck had maybe 7 basics, right? No, you had 6 basics. How to increase, or you can take out Cavernous Souls. But I don't really like that too much, or the Castle Lockwind. I don't know. You got to sacrifice somewhere. I would sacrifice on this. I would just sacrifice on the swamp. It won't be too bad. You have Ether Vial. You can still play a game, even in the face of Blood Moon. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you very much, everyone who showed up and was part of the conversation. We saw a lot of cool new spoilers, and we saw another zombie deck. Gotta love those zombies. I guess I gotta play a league with zombies one day. Like, maybe to improve on the past zombie deck that I did have before. I think zombies and vampires, they definitely have something behind them. I never went blue-black, but now that I see all these blue-black lists, I see the value in going blue-black, and I think actually that's somewhere I might want to go myself. So anyway, thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to give a shout-out to my sponsors, themanabase.com and Mana Traders. This is Nikachu, Merfolk Master, and I will see you at the next cup. Take care. I see you next time. Oh, by the way, there's no league today. No more leagues on Fridays. Only Mondays and Wednesdays. I know, because I don't have the time for school. So now we're only on Mondays and Wednesdays with leagues. But we're still going to have daily Coffee and MTG. So I see you at the next cup.